Since the dawn of time, mankind has struggled to find answers to the most important life questions. Why are we here? Where did we come from? Is there an afterlife? That's a good one. Why is Fortnite still popular? And what are Act-Man's top 20 best games of all time? Aristotle, Plato, Hercules, Jimmy Neutron, these scholars answered the first three, but I'm here to answer the last. Over the years, fans have relentlessly asked me, what are your favorite games of all time, Act-Man, you son of a... I told you, nothing's gonna beat 50 Cent Bulletproof. It's difficult to make a top something list because gaming is massive. How do you compare older titles to new ones? Does the genre matter? Are horror games gonna get screwed over again? Are the games put in the list based on their IGN review scores? Rather than deal with the issues of taking an objective, sterile approach, I said screw it. Subjective opinion mode engaged. Now, to be clear, this is not a list of what games I think are the best, just my personal favorites. Ones I've gotten the most enjoyment out of, or hold a special place in my soul. And trust me, I'll be throwing some curveballs your way. Now, a few spots on this list may be a combo package. If it's two or more games in the same series that are very similar, I'm just gonna smush them together, rather than try to pick out my favorite twin. I'm also aiming for diversity, so don't expect too many entries in the same series. Okay. One last thing, my ADHD superpowers make me go through phases of obsession. My opinions may change in the future, but for now, consider what you're about to witness. The definitive, deluxe, collector's special edition remastered in 480p, Act-Man's top 20 games of all time. I've got too many favorites to leave in the dust, so please put your hands together for the honorable mentions. But before all that, stay tuned for a $7,000 cash giveaway. I'm the Act-Man, and I want to play a strategic tower defense game while I'm on the toilet. Fear not, mortal. Lords Mobile is here. Easily the best strategy game on mobile devices. Send wave after wave of your own men to die at your command. Use galactic brain strats to outwit your opponents. Choose from a wide array of heroes, customize your troop formation, and claim victory even while you're taking a dump. It's pretty cool how you can capture other players' heroes and choose to execute them or charge a ransom. Lords Mobile recently had a massive update adding in a tower defense mode. You got 2 games in 1, and it's totally free.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
Lords Mobile is also allowing me to do a $7,000 cash giveaway. Here's how you enter. Step 1. Click the link in the description and download Lords Mobile. There are 2 ways to win. They will randomly choose 3 players in the top 5 of Might rank to win $500 each. Increase your might by building up your kingdom, engaging in battle. You can also spin the lucky wheel and get a chance to win the remaining cash and other awesome prizes every time you upgrade your castle. Even if you don't win, not to worry. You'll still receive a $350 Lords Mobile gift pack. So go do it. Download Lords Mobile today, support the channel, and enter to win $7,000. Ad time over. Murder mysteries are one of my favorite types of stories.
A murder, you say?
A unique cast of characters, and one of them is a cold-blooded killer. But who's the imposter? It's a classic setup. But if you already know the ending, well, there's no mystery. Among Us is the murder mystery that changes every time. The Thing is my top horror film, and Among Us is just the plot of that movie in a game. Besides, I've met so many incredible people through Among Us, it just brings folks together. Looking back, there were so many nights spent laughing and accusing, and I hope there's many more to come. Oh, did you guys know? There's a new expansion coming out for Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Psych!
I've been waiting a long time to hear those words, even if they are a lie. I experienced almost everything New Horizons offered in about 200 hours. And that makes me sad because I want reasons to keep playing it. Building my own town filled with lovable critters, inviting my friends over, showing them how much better my place is, seeing other people's towns, catching bugs and fish, displaying them in the museum. New Horizons just makes you feel happy. There's no hard goal, and that's what I love about it.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
What the tango, sucker? MW2 isn't in the top 20? Hold your AC-130s, guys. As much as I love MW2, one other Call of Duty is the complete package for me. But the absolute ridiculousness of this game is unmatched. Nothing is overpowered because everything is overpowered. That addicting progression system, the emergency airdrop, best streak in history.
Emergency airdrop on the fucking way!
One-man army, noob tubes, akimbo 1887s, no scoping, the legendary intervention. MW2 inspired so much of gaming culture even today.
Don't get too cocky, Star Fox.
What is there to say? It's a classic game from my childhood, filled with some of the greatest voice acting ever.
Do you copy? Emergency maneuvers! Too late. Game over, pal. Are you gonna listen to that monkey?
I can always go back to this, man. Shooting the glowy spots. Why is it so satisfying? And you gotta go for the high score.
This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill.
Guys, I have a confession to make. I think the original Battlefront 2 has aged very poorly.
You stink!
But I still love it, mostly for what it was at the time. If there's ever a Battlefront 3, just copy this game's content. Galactic conquest, ship-to-ship boarding, space battles, instant action, conquest, buttload of game modes and like 15 maps. We must have started like 40 galactic conquest campaigns and maybe finished 2 of them. Battlefront 2 really had it all. I've been addicted to WoW Classic ever since it came out. Addiction is not a joke, folks. I'm level 65. I gotta say, it's incredible playing with my brother as he relives the glory days of WoW, and I experience them for the first time. Tons of awesome areas to level up in, a thriving community, so much to do and see. It's such an amazing world to explore, and I've had so many fun encounters with other players. This game is taking over my life. Send help! Well, congratulations to our honorable mentions. Now get the hell off stage. And at number 20. That's right, it's a top 21 list. It's
Mario Party 3!
You're laughing. I give you my 21st favorite game of all time, and you're laughing at me. You know what? Fine. Mario Party 3, number 1. Video's over. Don't subscribe. Alright, maybe subscribe.
Good choice.
You don't know this, but I'm a hardcore Mario Party expert. If there was a Hell's Angels for people that played Mario Party, I'd be in it. A multiplayer game where you can make alliances with your buddy one turn and then screw them over the next. Mario Party is the duality of man. These games are not well designed, and they're not meant to be. In most matches, the winner isn't certain until the final turn, where somehow you end up giving 11 stars to the player that has 0. Go fuck yourself! Chance plays a role, but the best Mario parties for me are when randomness is toned down in favor of strategy. But why pick 3? Well, Nintendo hit their peak here, likely as a result of all the Coke parties they were having. 1, 2, and 3 all built upon each other, gradually improving, adding new features over time. But everything after was like, okay, what kind of stupid gimmick can we put in and base the entire game around? But Mario Party 3 gave you the most choices and strategy. The boards are big, but you got several ways to move through them. You never feel restricted or funneled down one path all the time. So why is Mario Party 3 on this list? Well, out of all the 4-player couch co-op games, this and Mario Tennis are my first picks. Genie, take us to number 20, would ya? But here's something that is well designed. Divinity Original Sin 2. If you consider yourself an RPG fan and you haven't played this, I can't be seen talking to you. It's just embarrassing. I'm a big sucker for strategic games, as you'll see. Talk about addicting. I had to stop playing this because it was affecting my work ethic. And it's easily the most dynamic turn-based combat you will ever find. as you manage your position, weapons, armor, status effects, buffs, debuffs. There's a whole environment system. Your dude's on fire, put him out with rain. Enemy standing in a pool of water, shock it with electricity to stun them. Throw some oil down and then drop a match, boom! Divinity 2 offers limitless freedom. What makes it special is none of your characters are locked into a certain play style. Even when you find them, they're like, hey, I'm an archer, but I can also be literally anything you want. Melee, DPS, archer, healer, mage, warlock, summoner. All these fantasy tropes are playstyles that you can mix and match into your character. You want an archer who's also a pyrokinetic? Sure. How about a warrior that can summon giant imps? Why not? Divinity is something you have to invest your time in. The more complex a game, the harder it is for people to get into it. Come on, we've all played tic-tac-toe. Not to mention the story. Ooh, parts of it are told in a second-person perspective where you are the focus of the dialogue. You walk into the bar and see a man pissing in his own mouth. What do you do? Here comes number 19. Battlefield 1 deserves a spot on this list for the soundtrack alone, but luckily DICE made a video game to go along with it. I wasn't the biggest fan of this franchise, but after my first match of Operations, I couldn't believe what I'd been missing.
All the wasted years.
Just the scale of combat, number of players, World War I setting, who would choose that? And can we appreciate that Battlefield 1 completely lived up to the hype and marketing? Yeah, you can shoot giant blimps out of the sky and relive the Hindenburg disaster.
First under flank. Get it started.
This game renewed an interest in history I once had. Riding on horseback, galloping into the enemy spawn and cutting dudes down with a sword before the timer expires, or parachuting off a behemoth right as it explodes, going Super Saiyan on the bayonet charge. Everything about Battlefield 1 is epic, and also beautiful. This is the only multiplayer title where I'm still happy at the end of a 45-minute match. Glitching in slowly is number 18.
I've seen you.
Oblivion was one of those mystical titles that blinded me with its majesty the first time I saw it. And then some time passed and, well, Oblivion hasn't died from old age yet, but I hope he wrote a will. Would it be too controversial to say Oblivion had better story and characters than Skyrim, even though the characters look like dog barf?
Is this true?
The AI was revolutionary, but nowadays it feels like an alien programmed it.
He was here a second ago.
I spend a good amount of time just like watching how broken the AI can be, like I'm trying to make a nature documentary. Watching the NPCs strike up a conversation, say goodbye, and then immediately start talking again.
Bye. Goodbye. Oh, hello.
You can't find that type of comedy anywhere else.
I don't know you, and
Let's
I
hear
don't
it.
care to know you.
Did you?
I don't know you, and I don't care to know
What's
you.
this about?
One of my favorite channels just posts clips of Oblivion. I love the way their voice lines overlap, so if you attack one guy, it just becomes a clusterfuck of yelling. But on the real, the storytelling was amazing. The Dark Brotherhood had the best plotline in the entire franchise. I respect the over-the-top acting too. Skyrim feels so sterile in comparison. On a technical level, Oblivion is a nightmare, but for the time, and even now, it holds a certain charm. I'll never forget the amazing time I spent in Cyrodiil. Number 17. Starcraft opened my eyes to PC gaming. The idea of playing something with a mouse and keyboard was, well, not as weird as using a controller with 3 handles. The Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. You got a futuristic cowboy military organization.
Considered platform verified and locked. This one's all yours, Hardy.
Biologically enhanced alien hive mind, and the technologically superior aliens with no mouths. Blizzard hasn't written a better story than the original Starcraft and Brood War. I mean, when you've got graphics like these, you really gotta make up for it in the voice acting.
You called down the thunder, now reap the whirlwind.
This is not Warcraft in space. It's much more sophisticated.
The story was morally ambiguous. All three factions are at war with one another, but also fight internally.
Dissecting a dead Zerg in a lab is one thing, unleashing them on men is another. You must go into this with both eyes open. Once started, there's no going back.
So much conflict, betrayal, killing for the sake of power.
And although I am prepared to face my destiny, you'll not find me easy prey.
Then that shall be your epitaph.
At the end of Brood War, the bad guy wins. And she's a woman who's killed everyone. James Raynor is my boy. It's so good, and the Blizzard cutscenes were out of this world. Apart from that, it's a kick-ass RTS. I must have beat these campaigns like 10 times each.
Looks like you mashed some poor fella's dog, Sarge.
And number 16.
Resident Evil 4.
As you'll see in my Resident Evil 4 Bingo Edition review, I got nothing to criticize about this. Virtually every design choice they made was the right one. Not one part of RE4 doesn't feel fully realized. Being released in 2005, visually, RE4 has aged better than any other title released around or before it.
It might come as a surprise, but I'm only 20 years old.
Large in part due to the motion capture and facial animations that added realism. It's way too cinematic and awesome for 2005. Though it's filled with cheesy dialogue and generic villains, the game fully embraces them. And rather than laughing at RE4, we're laughing with it. The gameplay is addicting, every encounter is designed to be unique and prevent you from getting into a rhythm. So many twists and turns. Far too many deaths to these chainsaw bastards. Resident Evil 4 is the perfect balance between scary and fun, action-packed and terrifying. Mining in at number 15, nothing quite hits me in the feels like hearing old school RuneScape music. This was a fun, free game to play with friends in the neighborhood, but it also gave me a taste of the real world and how terrible people could be. Trying to hack accounts, steal your stuff, free armor trimming! At the time I had played online games, but nothing like RuneScape. With a huge open world to explore, tons of stuff to do, an in-game economy, you can trade and talk with other people, that just blew my mind. For the first time, I was able to make friends with people I didn't know. I think for a lot of people, the most memorable games are the ones you've shared time and again with your closest buddies. And if I could go back in time and replay it the same way I did, I would. Smashing in at number 14. Colors weave into a spire of memes, distance treks within the fountain of dreams. I've always loved the Smash series, but had never taken it as seriously as I have in Ultimate. I'm sitting pretty at about 7,800 matches. Yeah, I'm pretty good at Captain Falcon though. Ultimate's competitive scene is the best and healthiest it's ever been. Gone are the days of Melee where half the fighters were copies and only 5 of them were viable. Masahiro Sakurai is a national treasure. The idea that every character ever in Smash would be back in Ultimate was just mind-blowing. It's hands down the greatest premise for any fighting game ever. And Nintendo delivered. They have granted my dream come true with Banjo-Kazooie. I will always be in their debt. Ultimate was such a crazy pipe dream that even when its content was leaked on 4chan, people just didn't believe it. My only gripes with Ultimate are the story and campaign, which I feel hasn't lived up to Brawl. But the core gameplay is phenomenal. 2.5 years later, I'm still throwing down on Final Destination. Romancing at number 13. Dragon Age Origins is probably BioWare's best RPG. It's pretty much a medieval Knights of the Old Republic, expanding on the mechanics, kind of turn-based combat, influence and relationships with your companions, an actually good dialogue system.
Relying on humans as a source of education is a fool's errand.
They are rather ignorant, aren't they? And feeble, at the best of times.
We have creatures on Parvolan that are similar. The humans call them monkeys.
The cast of characters here is top tier. You make a lot of tough decisions and relationships change based on your influence. Characters might propose their undying love for you, or they could be sick of your shit and abandon you entirely.
You're rude, you don't listen, and you seem to lack respect for anyone other than yourself.
Over 60 hours, Dragon Age Origins got me more invested in its story than probably anything else. Dragon Age has struggled with its sequels, but this one will always be a masterpiece. And at number 12. What can I say about Pokemon? Every kid was obsessed with it in the 90s, and I'm still a fan today. It's like a tobacco company marketing to kids. Let's get them hooked on Pokemon when they're young. It was every kid's dream to catch a bunch of wild animals, most of which could kill or seriously injure you, and taking them with you as you challenge the Mafia and destroy every grown adult. Really started the franchise on a strong note. Red and Blue's 151 Pokemon were perfection, and with little internet access, every feature and moveset, secret was something players had to learn on their own and share with others. I kinda miss it that way. Let's just say there's a reason why I have this 1997 Burger King kids meal poster up on my wall. Number 11.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Where were they brought?
I don't know anything about any numbers.
It's Black Ops 1, motherfucker. 2 reasons why MW2 isn't here instead. Zombies? Campaign. Spec Ops ain't bad, but bro, let's be real. We've all played zombies 1,000 times more than Spec Ops. Feel like I keep saying this, but God, it was addicting. The story is what really turned me into a Call of Duty fan, something I would be ashamed of years later. Because it was cool, man, all those classic characters, Alex Mason, Victor Reznov, and of course my boy, Frank Woods. I think the presentation is what sealed the deal for me, unraveling the mysteries of the plot, swapping between flashbacks and real time, seeing everything through the eyes of Alex Mason and wondering what he did to be interrogated like this. Black Ops 1 is my favorite all-around Call of Duty. The multiplayer had so many great modes, gun games, sticks and stones, a lot of cool weapons from the Vietnam era. It just kicks ass. And now, the top 10.
A man chooses. A slave obeys.
Words to live by. Bioshock is so amazing, I could just barely summarize why I love it in a 52-minute video. Atmosphere, tension, sandbox, and horror. Bioshock started the conversation of, yes, video games can be art. The underwater utopia of Rapture has become so iconic. Bioshock is fun as hell, but also thought-provoking, commentating on real-life issues, societies, and how they might function in a utopia. What sorts of ideals cause the destruction of civilization as we know it? Uncovering the insanity that consumed Rapture is something I'll never forget. The dramatic twist 3/4 in defied everyone's expectations. You just assumed your character was some nameless nobody. Top 3 greatest video game twists ever. Like Dark Souls, I was totally consumed by the backstory and lore of Bioshock. Number 9.
You must rally the Horde and lead your people to their destinies.
Warcraft 3 laid the foundation for the franchise moving forward for RTS games, MOBAs, and you could even argue hero shooters. I mean, talk about influential. Warcraft 3 was everything Starcraft was, but better, except the story. I've been stuck playing Warcraft 3 custom games for 16 years. How am I still playing this game? Kinda remarkable there hasn't been a new RTS that snatched me away, aside from the occasional Halo Wars 2. Number 8. Dark Souls is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls. The combat and challenge is what pushed me to beat it. The lore is what brought me back. Lordran is a beautiful and frightening place, majestic yet fearsome. A wondrous corrupted land. The journey in Dark Souls is a metaphorical fight against insanity. The Souls franchise has continued to tell these obscure, interpretive stories, but none have outmatched the original. You get the bare minimum info, and it's up to the player to make sense of the story through the environment and item descriptions. What also blew me away was just how many unique weapons and movesets there are. It offers tons of replayability and challenge. And at number 7...
Objection! Hold it!
know why I love Ace Attorney? Because it takes a mundane, boring job and turns it into this dramatic courtroom drama. Lawyers weren't cool before Phoenix Wright came along. Now, the first three are so similar, I can't really pick between them. But I would say Trials and Tribulations is my favorite. But that's because Justice for All and Ace Attorney were building up to that conclusion. And you go up against all these prosecutors who are just out to get Phoenix Wright, seeing the breakdowns and finding the contradictions, so satisfying. If you haven't touched these games before, do yourself a favor. I mean, these are linear visual novels, but the writing is so good, I've replayed them 5 times each. I enjoy this trilogy as much as I do Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, and the original Star Wars. It's like, the plot of these games are so bad shit, like, Phoenix Wright is defending his arch-nemesis and childhood friend Miles Edgeworth in a murder case that he admitted to committing, and the prosecution is led by Miles's former Sith Lord who's never lost a case in 40 years. You want to talk drama? Go tell all your Bachelor shows to screw off. Come play Ace Attorney. Number 6.
Here we go!
Super Mario 64 was the first game I ever played, and that's all I need to say to let you know I had an amazing childhood. My parents couldn't have picked a better title to turn me into a lifelong gamer. It's easy enough that a 3-year-old could pick it up and play, but there's a level of mastery in the movement that was and still so unique for 3D platformers. Every music piece is legendary. Mario's transition to 3D was perfect. Oh, and the best Bowser theme. To me, Mario 64 represents the fun-loving nature of all Nintendo games. It encompasses their entire business and brand. Number 5. I don't really feel like doing the last 5 on this list.
So you will do nothing? Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Statement. Apathy is death.
You didn't think I forgot about Knights of the Old Republic, did ya? KOTOR doesn't have the greatest combat, but it more than makes up for it with writing and characters. Along with the Ace Attorney Trilogy, Bioshock, Dragon Age Origins, Halo 2, and the game in spot number 3, these games have the greatest stories out of all the shit I've played. Bastila Baby, my first true love in a video game. KOTOR 2 in particular resonated with me more. I mean, it's deeper than a freaking ocean.
Why did you do such a thing? Such kindnesses will mean nothing. His path is set. Giving him what he has not earned is like pouring sand into his hands.
There's a video on YouTube that examines the philosophies of the main villain and how it relates to all Star Wars media. That video is 113 minutes long. These 2 games did more for the Star Wars franchise than the last 8 films. We know the Jedi, we know the Sith, but we've never talked about what's in between. The reason why they're both in the same spot is KOTOR 2 was blatantly unfinished, and only through a mod can you experience most of what it was meant to be.
Come on now. You got enough to worry about without you two trying to kill each other.
Were it so easy.
Back in 2007, I thought Halo 3 was the end. Of Master Chief, Arbiter, Cortana, Johnson, all the characters I grew to love. Luckily, this shit made loads of money and the fight continued. But it's hard to forget just how satisfying this ending was. When it comes to multiplayer shooters, I don't think anything has aged as well as Halo 3. With its amazing sandbox, huge selection of modes, forge and custom games, the possibilities are infinite. Even to this day, when my buddies and I hop on MCC, we always jump straight into Halo 3. You might notice the pattern of games on this list being stuff I still play today. Number 3. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is a once-in-a-lifetime game. It's the best-written Mario title ever created, and for how long Homie has been around, that's saying a lot. But when you look at the plot points on paper, pun intended, it doesn't sound like a Mario title. This shit is fucking whack. Mario fights a giant dragon and she tries to bribe you by offering to smell her feet? The thing is, you can say yes to the motherfucker. And Mario walks up expecting to get a good whiff and then he gets attacked. This was Nintendo at their most creative with Mario. The Thousand Year Door is filled with unique character designs never seen before or since, and it showed how they would live together in a society. Rogueport is the exact opposite of Peach's Castle. Scummy, filled with crime, a freaking gang war happens right as you enter, Mario gets mugged in the first 10 minutes. But it gets crazier. What did you say? Mario becomes a fucking WWE wrestler called the Great Gonzalez and fights a giant Hulk Hogan chicken atop a floating city? Excuse me? Princess Peach isn't kidnapped by Bowser, but instead space Nazis and is being held in a secret base on the goddamn moon? What's that? Mario has 4 love interests? It's seriously a fever dream, man. The story is so charming, funny, emotional at times. Even without voice actors, the text is given so much personality and charm. Just look at it. I avoided fighting the final boss for years because I felt comforted that there was something I hadn't seen in the Thousand Year Door. But it's also a really fun RPG that makes turn-based combat interactive. For me, the Thousand Year Door is beyond criticism. I think it's the most perfect game I've ever played. Number 2?
We're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines?
Sir, yes, sir!
Damn right I am.
It's hard to put into words how much Combat Evolved means to me, why it's so special and deserving of the number 2 spot. Halo was the driving force behind this channel. Every video, every opinion you haven't agreed with, it all started on that fateful night when my dad brought home an Xbox. Some of my fondest memories are just my brother and friends replaying the campaign endlessly, shooting each other in multiplayer, coming up with wacky custom games. The story was captivating even for a young second grader. I was hooked. I became a hardcore fan, and looking forward to the next Halo always brings me joy. 20 years later, it's still one of the best FPS campaigns in history and my personal favorite. I'd play through it any day with any friends.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Actman's favorite video game of all time. Well, there's 2 of them. When I was given Banjo-Tooie for Christmas like 20 years ago, I cried tears of joy that day. No game speaks to my childhood more than Banjo-Tooie and Kazooie. It's something I can't quite describe. I even got the bear and bird tattooed on my body. It took everything I loved about Mario 64 and added a new layer of comedy, personality, so many minigames, challenges, a hilarious 4-player first-person shooter mode. You can replay any boss battle. This game's entire soundtrack is roughly 8.5 hours. Every song is exploding with charm. While I love the original, I think Tooie provides a lot more challenge and replayability. It takes a long time to 100% this game, and I love every minute of it. Tons of collectibles and so much to see and do. The levels are vast, bosses are epic. Banjo-Tooie becomes pretty damn hard later on though. Grunty Industries roadblocked my progress forever until I went back years later. Whenever I'm feeling down in the dumps, I know I can always pop in Banjo-Tooie because it's one thing that always makes me happy. So there you have it, folks, my top 21 games of all time. I keep prattling on about the memories I have with these, and hopefully that encourages you to think about the games that you resonate with the most. It took me a while to write all this out and feel comfortable with it. I feel like I made this video for me, as like the definitive, here's where I stand. I owe it to the younger Actman who spent all those years playing these fantastic titles. But what do you think? What's your top 21 games of all time? Anything on this list you have yet to play? I highly recommend each and every one. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the Actman for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Actman signing out. Peace!